Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin from Florals.com and today we're back with 2020 Creative Reset. And like we've done before, we went over the goal setting, the goal implementing, the goal tracking. Then we went over our craft rooms and how we can make those work for us. And now we're going over how we can make our supplies work for us. So I thought it'd be really fun to go dive into my scraps and walk you guys through a couple different page kit ideas. And I have some that I'm going to do with photos, some without photos. I know some people wonder how you can do a page kit if you don't know what you're going to scrapbook about yet. But I think it's just the idea of picking a color scheme ahead of time that might go with different various types of photos that can help save you time later. So these page kits can help evaluate your goals in a different way or in a different light, and it could also help you expedite the scrapbooking process and save you time overall. But if you guys have not made page kits before, there are several ways to do it. There are several things you can include, several things you don't have to include. It's really a personalized topic for what you want out of your page kits. But like I mentioned, this can save you a ton of time when you actually do have time to scrapbook. And again, you can pair them with photos or without them. So today I'm going to be using my supplies to work for me by utilizing my scraps. So I have my pattern paper scrap bin here, which is very, very full. So we have some designer stuff, we have some like paper pad stuff. Most of my paper pad ones actually end up back in their paper pads, but it's been a while since I've actually gone through these scraps. So I'm excited to see what we can make out of them. And so I'm just gonna pull out some of the bigger pieces. So these pretty much range from like this size, which is from a 6x6 paper pad, to like almost full sheets of 12x12 paper. And I just keep them in a magazine rack. Like this one in particular really spoke to me because I think it's dainty, it's quaint, and it is double-sided, so that's like a twofer. So essentially what I would do to build a page kit, which this seems to actually have a stain on it. I'm not sure if these were supposed to have that yellowy bits or not. But when I first start making a page kit, I usually don't start with a photo. I think that often deters me from going down a solidified path. So for example, these two are from the same collection, I believe. Let's see, yeah, Simple and Sweet. Do I think I'd use these papers together? No, I do not. Well, maybe these two. But since they're such big pieces, I think they're quite standalone. But if I were to put these together, I wouldn't pair them with another 12x12 pattern paper. Rather, I'd probably put in a plain colored cardstock. So for this example, I will do that, because I know a lot of us like to do more pattern paper in smaller bits rather than a full background paper. So for example, for this page kit, I could do this, and another thing I like to do, especially when I'm using my scraps, is sometimes when I see scraps, I automatically get an idea for the style of the layout that I want. So there's another piece there. But what I like to keep on hand is either Post-it notes or index cards. Really up to you what you'd rather use. I mean, I have both, but I'm just going to use a Post-it note this time because that's what I have out. And what I like to write on them, and I've explained this before, but essentially I would make a square. You can use pencil. Pretend that's a square. That is very much so more of a rectangle. But then I'd be like, okay, the photo goes here. This would be the pink diamond pattern. Or you can pull out sketches from your sketchbooks. So like if you have printed ones, you could just attach one here or write a note and say sketch number 63. Perhaps that's the one when you're going through your notebooks that you can pull out. And it's really just expediting the scrapbooking process in terms of when you sit down to scrapbook, again, this is what you'll have time to do, is to throw it together and then add the final touches. Now you can just do paper kits. I've done that before where I've actually, in How to Kill a Kit style, I would essentially just make a bunch of paper kits. So papers that go together, and then I worked with a giant embellishment kit on the side of that. That way I didn't have to pull out specific things for each kit. Now it really depends on what you want and what you prefer, but just looking at this, I know I do have some stuff from Pink Fresh Studio that will match, only because it's, same manufacturer usually ends up matching pretty well. So if I look through my stickers and I find something that I like, okay, here's a journaling spot I like, here's some accent stickers that are generic that I could use. Or you could pull off each individual sticker, put them on wax paper, put them on like sticker paper. I know that's a thing that people have started using, but it's really just up to you and what you want for your pages. So you might go through your sticker books, like this one could work really well, or the Maggie Holmes one could work really well. You're looking for those pastel colors and you'd pull out some here. So that's one way to do it. writing down notes. If you don't have a specific photo in mind, but you have a specific theme in mind you might be able to do, I'd recommend writing that down as well. And I don't recommend keeping your options too open. Eventually you might find that everything ends up in your kits and you have nothing left to work with in your stash. I think it should be the opposite. Limited items in your kit and then pulling from your stash. So here I could write down additional items. And this would be a good spot to write down the things you also want to include. So you could include like washi tape strips and put those on a piece of wax paper, which I've done before. And I'll show you guys some of my pre-made kits that I have that are just sitting around waiting to be used. You could write down mist in the color bubblegum, whatever it happens to be. That way you have those reminders when you do pull this back out. Because sometimes kit making is a lot faster when you don't have to think about the photos. But if you want to make a kit with photos, I know what people usually do is bulk processing, and I highly, highly recommend it. If you have the time and space to do it, I know not everybody does, but essentially you lay out all of your photos for pages that you want, double pages, single pages, whatever it might be. So you'd lay out your photos in piles and then simply go through your scraps, go through your papers, whatever you're going to plan on using, and start pulling out elements for each one. And then at the end, you bag them all up and store them for when you have time to sit down and scrapbook. That's a good method. I don't do that method. I tend to work from a monthly kit, so I don't need a ton of page kits in my stash to go from, but I do have some. So like I said, this would be a great page kit just as is. I could pull out some of these, I could pull out some of those. I don't think it'd actually go with these, but it's a great place to start within manufacturer versus outside of manufacturer. But if you didn't have anything, for example, if these were just random pieces from my stash, I would probably first go to a bulk embellishment type, so either a 12 by 12 sticker sheet, 12 by 12 chipboard, a sticker book, something that has a lot of options to see if there were any color matches. So here, particularly on this paper, this side's a great side to look at for color matches. This has pretty much all the colors that are on this side, but in a bigger spot, so you can color match a little bit better. And color matching does not have to be exact as well. So here you'll notice we have a baby pink, and we have a baby pink here, luckily. But sometimes you don't need exact matches to make it work. Let me see if I can find another one. Because I like making these live versus, you know, having a plan in place, because sometimes it's a little bit annoying. So here we have a like peachier pink, not a great match. Here we have a hot pink, not a great match, but it could still work because it's in the same color family and is vastly different. But if you were to bring in something that's very, very similar but off at the same time, this just looks so funky next to it. But that doesn't mean it can't work, it just doesn't work for my taste. So this is definitely a warmer tone pink with a lot more orange in it. So this one seems a little bit off. But if you keep looking, you'll probably find a pink that's close enough. And here's another one, very warm tone, peachy pink versus this purpley pink we're looking for. Oh look, another piece. We can keep that in there too. Even like this seems like it goes well. This is what happens when you start going through your scraps. You start getting a lot of ideas, and if anything, I think it is very, very motivational to do something like this. So I really like this one. It brings in a baby blue, but if you notice, this isn't a pure white. It's actually kind of like a gray white. Yeah, it's reading pretty gray on camera. So I'm not going to include that, but it is very pretty and could work. And I think this is mostly about, more so about trying to find something that will work and that works with your style. I know a lot of us have scraps that might not necessarily be our style, but if you pair it with things that are, it might work out in the end. So the pink in this flower compared to this flower, this one matches pretty well actually. And this is actually Pebbles paper from their garden party collection. But it's a pretty spot on match. So I could definitely include this. And luckily it's a small enough piece. And luckily the flowers are pretty similar between the two types. They're similar shapes at least. I don't know what types of flowers these are supposed to be, but similar in shape, which helps a lot. Because sometimes if you have different types of flowers, it gets a little bit confusing, but they have this one running throughout. So that shape kind of gets mimicked and then it feels like it's part of it. So there's one example, not a perfect match, but it will work. Let's see, does this one match? Okay, well this is just a border. Here's one that doesn't match for sure. The border strap border strap. The border strip matches a little bit better, but again, it's still peachy and it's not 100%. We have a polka dot. Now, sometimes it's not the inside color that matches, but sometimes it's the outside color that matches, but it's the inside color. So these polka dots match pretty well, except they are textured, which this is pretty much a flat color. So you could pull this in, and this also ties in with the hot pink here. Again, not an exact match, but you can see that since they're in the same color family, the same warm pink tones, it really goes well together. Would I put all these together? No, probably not. I think that's a little bit too much pattern paper for myself, but it does not mean it can't be done. So essentially you want to go through your scraps like this. And like I said, you can pull in cardstock for your 12 by 12 background. You could just, match up 2 pieces of scraps to make a 12 by 12 background. The options are limitless, but what we want to do is make sure that our supplies are working for us. So I started by pulling out some scraps that I had that went together automatically. No fuss, no muss, those go together. And I just paired it with a couple more things that I can use as accents throughout the page to make it all come together as a layout. So I had a little sketch that I made. Next, you could pull in embellishments. Like I said, I tend to make paper page kits and leave out embellishments unless I have a strong direction to go with. For example, I could pull in some of these Paige Evans die cuts if I wanted to go floral, because a lot of these colors match. Even if this yellow isn't a perfect yellow, it's sort of a mix between this yellow and orange to make this golden color. And like this orange does match, this pink matches. The greens, ooh, it does have a tealy green to it, although not an exact match, but something like this could work if I wanted to. Now again, I get pretty stuck sometimes if I put too much into a page kit without an idea of a theme. So make sure you write down your themes. Like say you have an more masculine style page kit, which I hope we get to, but you feel like it might work for your dog. Well, you need to write that down because you might forget that later. So notes are very important. I know Nicole Jones 911 does notes with her page kits. Janet might do notes with her page kits. I can't quite recall. But notes with page kits are very important in case you do have ideas that are sparking immediately. So I'm going to move this one aside, and then we're going to make one for one of my photos. So I pulled out 3 photos here. I guess I'll start doing the bulk process just to give you guys an example of what that is. So essentially bulk processing would be thinking, okay, first off, let's do this. So no matter how you store your scraps, you'll find these moments where you're looking through, and I can't believe the tag's still on this, but I bought it at Joann's in case anybody's wondering. You'll be going through your scraps and you see something. You see something that clicks. My thing was these 3 papers. 1, 2, 3. These 3 papers look so great together. And then I noticed this one's a cutoff of that one. So I pull that one out. And before you know it, you're going to have something that goes together. You're going to have a color scheme. If this doesn't happen to you, maybe you should just do a goldfish round with your scraps. Just play around with them. I'm going to move this out of the way again a bit so we have more room to work. But essentially you'll have this that happens. You'll be like, wow, I could stack all these scraps together, make a great color scheme. Great, that's what we wanted. Now are you going to pull in what's going to be your 12 by 12 is usually my next question. Especially when working with scraps. Sometimes we get caught up in the scraps and forget that we do need to put something behind it. Now I just found this ticket paper, which is Dear Lizzie, I believe, and that instantly made me think of this photo. This photo is when we were at a hockey game. Tickets required for events like that, so I automatically have a pair. Yes, I'm wearing orange, and if I were to have started with this photo, which I scrapbooked another photo from this event, and I did go the orange route because that's the school color that was on theme for it. But looking at these, ticket matches the mood and feel. We have these icy blues, which match really well. Now I'd probably pair this with a pattern paper. If I was, actually doing a bunch of page kits, I would have my paper pads out. But since I don't, I could almost picture this with a white cardstock, mainly doing some mixed media perhaps. And again, I would pull out my notes, write that down. Or maybe you're not into page kits and you just want a faster way to start your layouts. Scraps could be the way. So since these tickets are running vertical, well, since the pattern's read vertically because of the text on there, I could see these stacking this way, but I could also see them stacking the other way. So like this, and then my photo on top and stuff over here. Lots of ways to do it. And again, maybe I don't want the pattern. Maybe I don't want a pattern background, or maybe I do, or maybe I'll just use a stencil. But these type of scrap layouts are very easy, very fast. And I didn't even look through my pattern papers very much. I know I have more that I could include. Like here's one that's a little bit more gray based to get a little bit more of that grungy hockey thing. Now I pulled in this one, which definitely could work. I think it works better with these papers than these green papers because this is a darker teal, whereas this starts going down the green route with these two colors. So I'm going to put this one back, but it could work. There's this one. Also could work. I think these two go together very well though. Mainly because they seem more warm tone than cool tone. And again, I'm not even hardly going through any of my scraps. Maybe I want a wood grain background. Just let your scraps speak to you. And I know it's going to be hard at first, which I know it's more of a learned thing. Once you get going on it, you'll find it goes faster. So this is from the same Dear Lizzie collection. So I could pull something like this in. Not going to, but I totally could. I've got all sorts of patterns up in here that could work. And that's the thing, anything could work for your layouts and it's what you want. But I think what you need to be keeping mindful of is making sure that you have quick decisions and not bogging down on the little things. Like this could be enough to get you started and to jumpstart your layout without having to, you know, sit down and drag a bunch of things out. Like this is just made from scraps. This is just a 12 by 12 white cardstock and a photo I had out. I could even switch this out for my dog's photo because he's precious and blues and yellows work really well for animals, especially when they're this golden color. The yellow works as a great accent. I could technically use this one. Now we have the tickets on here which aren't exactly on theme, but I do have yellow in my dress. I have blue eyes. It comes together just fine. So sometimes you don't need a photo with it. Sometimes it's generic like this. This could be all you pull out and put into a kit. But if you don't think kits are for you, I would recommend pairing photos with them. Otherwise, you will be stagnant. You won't use them. You won't pull them out. And if you're doing a bulk process like I recommend, notes are important. So if I were to include this photo in there, it would just go in like a page kit or in a file system, however you want to store them, stacking them. I would grab this. I would say sketch is this size. And you don't have to have a sketch. I just like having those sometimes. And draw better squares than I do. I have layout planning worksheets over on my Patreon, so if you're interested in joining, you can download that over there. And I'll have my Patreon link down below because we're going to make more page kits over there this month as part of 2020 Creative Reset, because I know people like watching people make kits, mainly because sometimes we think differently than other people, and that can help drive new decisions for us when we start to make our page kits. So you could write down a title idea since you already have your photo picked out. You can write down some journaling notes. Pretend that's an R. You can pretty much plan your entire layout, and then when you sit down, all the super hard things to do, like the journaling, the title, the hard parts are done. The embellishing part's the fun part for a lot of us. So leave that for last because that's going to be what makes you the happiest. So I could do some bricks of pattern paper here, and then my photo, voila, title here. And just because you have a page kit, like if I were to leave this one like this, you know, say I had actual journaling notes like hockey game, put the date, then put my title, pucks and Lux. I don't know, I just came up with that. And then you have your additional notes. So this would be your additional products. And you wrote down mixed media. And then you wrote down a certain one that you wanted, like teal craze or one of my many shimmers products. That gives you the launching point for the layout and will save you so much time later, especially if you start doing this bulk-wise. So I'm done with this one. I'm going to start on my next two immediately. Or you can add embellishments in. That's a completely different story. So I'm still left with two. And I'm going to go in here and start looking. Just start perusing. I really like this paper. And when I start looking through my scraps, I usually start big, then go small. Because I need something that kind of dictates the color scheme for the whole layout. So whether that be a bunch of small pieces like the last example, or if it's one big piece like this example, like I think this is precious for either one. They both have a lot of gray in them. I think this one's a bit more gray because the whole car is, versus this where I have the whitish ceiling versus the gray dress. So if I were to pull this out, I could pull out another layer. You're essentially just building a layout based on the elements that are already cut for you that you've used previously, which I think is super, super fun and fast. And maybe this frustrates you instead of helps you, which I totally understand. Everyone is different. So if this sounds like something you want to try, I highly recommend trying it. If it sounds like something that would end up being more work for you later because you're not interested in pairing photos with it right now, or if you don't have photos printed right now that can't be paired, there's lots of different reasons you might not want to do something like this right away. Just make sure that you're giving yourself the chance to use your supplies like they want to be used. And just make it work the way you want. So here I wouldn't even have to have a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. I could simply just pair these together to make them 12 inches, which I don't think they are at this point. And I would probably tuck the blue under the camera. That would be 12 inches. And then use that, and then use that, and the layout's building itself. I didn't cut anything. I didn't do much of anything other than pick out colors that I thought would go well with this photo and possibly go well with embellishments that I have in my stash. And like I said, I could cut this one in a banner. I could have the title right here, a journaling card right here, and it's practically done, guys. So this is another great one. And again, I would grab a sticky note. Guys, can you tell I love sticky notes? And simply write down this little sketch idea. You could take a picture of it and have it on your phone. So you draw a square, and this time I'm going to try better to draw a nice square. Okay, smaller, but that's okay. So we're going to have the dividing line. Then we're going to have this piece of black. And I've done it before where I draw arrows and say, okay, this one's the teal. This one's camera. Photo. This one's the black piece, this one's the silver. This will save you so much time in the long run. Or you could make base pages, and Janet at RTS Scrapbooking does all of that information. I've never made base pages, but you can do something like that as well, where you have these scraps, you pair them together, that's it. You have a base page ready for photos of your choosing later on. So again, I could keep going. I could build this out more. I could be like, okay, well, I have the green background, so let me look for more green. So I could pull in this one. This one has that tealy green and use it as a layer under my photo. I don't particularly love the cream on this, so I'm going to put that one back, opt out. I do see a dog pattern paper in here, so I could pull that in. Maybe use this yellow to bring in a third color to my not so colorful color scheme. You know, bring in another layer. Really cute. Or I could use the dog side. We have little dog tags. But I think I like the yellow a little bit better. And it's just about mixing and matching patterns or cardstock. I know some of us have cardstock scraps, and I didn't bring that over today, but you can totally use that as well, obviously. I see some gold, but I already have silver written down as one of my layers, so I don't need the gold. I see this one. This one's got that teal color as well, but again, it's more of a cream accents on here. We have this one that could go really well. It could be a nice photo layer. It's not an exact teal, but it's in the same family. So we could layer that in there. I can't make this stuff up, guys. Super fast, super easy. Bag this up. Write down your notes, title ideas, journaling ideas. You can write down whatever you want that makes it easier for you in the long run. Because sometimes we have time to scrapbook, but we don't have the starting point on what to scrapbook. And if you have these in your stash, the next time you have 15 minutes, you grab a bag, you start scrapbooking, you could have a page done pretty quick, especially if you take good notes when you have the energy to be creative, but not necessarily scrapbook something. So like I said, this could have been a great color scheme for any photo. I could have definitely pulled in this one. Again, we didn't need the teals, but it could have worked. I could have pulled in the hockey one just fine. Again, grays, it works really well. But like I'm saying, it doesn't need to be for a specific photo a lot of the time, if you make it basic enough, if you don't use themed papers. So for example, some of these papers might have like super specific themes. Like this paper I wouldn't use on a dog layout. But that's my personal taste. You might want to use it on a dog layout. You might not have that sort of inclination not to use certain themes for certain stories. and that's fine. You might not want to use butterflies on the layout about your father. That's fine. You don't have to, but just keeping things open enough. Like this butterfly paper could go for so many things, and so could this typewriter paper. But if you know you don't have certain themes coming up that you might want to scrapbook these with, maybe you shouldn't pull them out right away. But like butterflies could work for pet layouts, it can work for girl layouts, it could work for boy layouts. It's a very playful pattern in this instance that could work for a ton of different themes. And there's always a backside, usually. Like this one doesn't, but this one could work for studious things, for work things, for... It says different things, so these could even be cut apart, so you don't necessarily have to use each paper as the size it is, like I have been. I just think that expedites my process later when I go to glue them down. And ideally, these layout kits that I'm sharing with you will be process videos on Patreon. So again, if you haven't checked out over there, definitely do so you can get in the know about everything going on over there. But like I said, this could be a generic page kit. It doesn't necessarily have to have photos, but there's nothing about this that screams my dog, that screams me, that screams anything other than the color scheme that it is, and that it's fun and it's brighter. So I wouldn't use this for everything that I could, but it just opens the door for lots of different types of layouts. So I'd put this in a bag and set it down. And now we have a third color scheme to look at. And again, not all of these need cardstock. Not all of these need a 12 by 12. The one I just did not. So I first saw these. Whoops, we brought out a lot more than I wanted. So I first saw these two, and I thought these would make a great accent piece behind here. Now, this color scheme is just one that I particularly like myself, and since it's a layout about me, I could do pink and green if I want. Now, if this was a layout about somebody else, I'd probably go for something to accent these yellows. Doesn't mean I can't, but this was my starting color scheme that I saw in my scrap kit that I pulled out. Now, sometimes I also keep baby scraps. Now, these should have actually ended up back in their 6x6 paper pad, but I believe the move prevented me from doing that. Oh, but we have a scrap that matches, so we're going to pull that in. So some of these could work to bring in that yellow accent, although it's not the same yellow. This one's much more brighter. Doesn't mean you can't use it. I really like this as well. That wood grain really helps match the pattern here because this is a chevron wood grain pattern and this is a, a quilt pattern. I like that accent. Maybe I just want to pull in a different wood grain. I could finish off our 12 by 12 with this. Let me move it over a little bit. It's hard to see if it's actually like a 12 by 12. Yeah, that would reach 12 by 12 with all the layers. But like I'm saying, you can do all sorts of things with your pattern papers. And I think sometimes we limit ourselves because we're like, oh, I can use a scrap on a layout. No, you can build a whole layout just from your scraps. And there's several YouTubers who do that. Highly recommend watching them. And I don't have any right off the top of my head, but I know Tori Bissell did a Scrap Your Scrap series a while back, and you can watch older videos and get that inspiration that you need to do your layouts. Or I could have swapped out this one for this one. I wouldn't necessarily do that. This mint and this green are kind of competing. I do like the wood grain a bit better. But we have a backside. This is really pretty too. And I could swap out all these things and just start again with this one. But the important thing is, if you find that you can't match your photos to papers fast, I'd recommend just starting with some color schemes. Just playing with your scraps. Like making 12 by 12 papers from your scraps is a great way to start. I think this might be considered a base page. Again, I haven't watched all of those videos yet, so this could work for so many different photos. This could work for my dog. This could work for hockey. This could work for a million different stories. And I think we often trip ourselves up by thinking we have to pair everything with it to make it faster, but that's not necessarily the case. But you also need to understand what makes scrapbooking difficult for you, or what are your hurdles to finishing a page. If it is embellishments, you should pair your embellishments beforehand. So for like this one, I already had my photo picked out, and I had some scraps in place. Like this would be a layer here, blah 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 blah. Probably here. I don't know where it'd exactly be. But then I'd come visit my stickers, my die cuts, see what I had. Pull out some wax paper, pull them in, pull it in a full sheet. Like these ones look nice. I'd put those in. I know these match because they go with this paper. So I'm kind of cheating. But like I said, none of this stuff matches other than, this green paper and now these stickers. So I could pull these in. I could pull these ones in, you know. And that could be your starting point, just having one thing in there, embellishment, washi tape, something to get you going in terms of your clusters or however you put together your pages will just help you. Like, did I want to pull any of these in? Do I want to pull in any puffy stickers? But again, if you are trying to pair something specific with it, say you don't have the photos printed yet, but you have this nice, beautiful pastel wood grain page. You grab a sticky note, you grab an index card, you grab something and write down some notes about, I want photos of my garden. I want photos of my grandchild. Lots of options. You want photos of your dog in the garden. We know we have stories to tell. Therefore, we know what color schemes we're looking for without having to put in the effort of what does the photo look like. This color scheme works for a variety of photos. A couple photos it might not work for are really, really bright colored photos. So if you're in a McDonald's playhouse and it is red, purple, and green, and I'm talking like neon red, purple, and green, it won't look good on this. But this color scheme will work for like hundreds and hundreds of stories. So we don't need to fuss over certain things sometimes. Sometimes if you have these put together, the right photo will fall into your lap and work beautifully for your page kits. Now, I've also gotten some questions about how I store my page kits. You know, that way I can, go through them, rifle through them pretty quickly and, find the one that I need or, find the color scheme that I need. And I only have one container of page kits right now. It's just one of those 12 by 12 holders with all my page kits in it. And some already have photos. So I have the ones with photos sorted out in the front half and then ones without photos in the back half. And I tend to only go there if I need real inspiration. If I want a couch kit, I just grab one of those and bring it out there. If you plan on making a ton of page kits, you probably will want some organization in place, but that'll only be up to you because it's how you organize them. Again, I only have them organized by photos and non-photos because a lot of my color schemes tend to be very similar, and a lot of my base pages, my page kit bases, aren't specific at all. I don't have titles in there. Like, for example, for this one, I could stick that in there. That doesn't mean I have to use it. That doesn't mean it has to be a family layout. That's just inspiration for later. I think it was Janet who says you should have a reminder of things for when you go to use them. So including washi tape strips, just a little piece of your washi tape to recognize that I have a perfect washi tape that goes with this pink or goes with this green or that matches this wood grain perfectly. We're trying to make our stash work for us by having those things implemented now in a fast way. I've built 3 page kits in the matter of 30 minutes, but that's because I'm also talking through it. I could do them a lot faster if I wanted, and this is great for crops. It's great for couch scrapbooking kits. Like I said, I could grab one of those that has a photo with it, go sit on my couch, just grab my adhesive, look at my notes, grab my washi tape if I need it, and I'll show you guys a completed one once we're done here, but it's just easier to do in the long run. It's putting in the time now so that you can scrapbook quickly later. And sometimes we want quick scrapbook pages and sometimes we don't. All of this is very, very dependent on how you scrapbook. You might not want to do page kits at all. You might prefer to do like a monthly style kit where you have a ton of different scraps, a little embellishment pile to work with all together and make pages that way. Totally fine. You can do however you'd like. I do a variant of ways. I have some page kits. I have some like monthly kits I've kept together that are quite large. So I have those options available to me. And then there's other times where I just sit down and scrapbook right off the bat. I have a color scheme in mind. I have certain papers in mind, certain embellishments in mind, depending on the photo. So just keep that in mind next time you are trying to sit down and make your stash work for you. And throughout the 2020 Creative Reset series, in the couple weeks we have left and couple episodes we have left, which I'm so sad it's ending, I'm going to give you guys more tips and tricks to use your stash in a more efficient way. So ways we can, have those reminders, like I mentioned, of which washi tapes we have and, things that are pre-cut and how to, really emphasize the things that we have and the fact that we can use them faster and easier and, have more fun while we're scrapbooking. So let me put this away and then we'll go over some of the page kits I already have together. I'll show you guys an example of one that is for a photo and one that is not for a photo, or photos rather. Like this is a perfect page kit ready to go. And it really didn't take that long. It was a matter of looking at, actually I probably have used these two papers together before. You guys could probably remember better than I can, but like there's other papers in here. I could pull out this one. A lot of these are remnants of kits that I've either received or that I've worked with before. So it's sometimes easy to put things together, and I know I've done a video way in the past where I took like the rest of my kit and made page kits out of it. If you guys don't remember that, I'll try to have it linked down below. I have no idea which month of How to Kill a Kit with Style that was, but it's really, really fun. And again, we do all sorts of stuff on Patreon like this, and I love making page kits. I think it's really worth it in the end, and that it can save us a lot of time later on, especially if you want to do couch scrapbooking, which I've gotten a lot of questions about, or if you go to crops. Sometimes it's nice just to have a whole package ready to go for you. And you don't have to worry about what to pack because it's all right there. You know, look at the washi tape you need, look at the mixed media you need for it. You already wrote out the whole plan. You just need to have time to sit down and execute it and, you know, do the last minute embellishments. But you can include whatever you want in your kit. Again, make sure you're evaluating how you function. I know I've had several questions about kits in the past, how I make them without photos, how I make them with photos, and hopefully this alleviates some of those questions. But if you have any questions, don't forget to leave them down below. I'd be happy to answer them, and we'll be going over more ways that we can use our stash, you know, make our stash work for us in the future in this series. So let me go grab some page kits so we can go over them here, and I hope you guys are enjoying this little video so far. So this is the container that I store my page kits in. So this didn't come off. We got to get that off later. But this is from Amazon. It's just a 12 by 12 expandable holder. And I have all the bags, all sorts of types of bags. I usually keep I always keep the ones that orders come in. If you order 12 by 12 paper from a lot of online retailers, you'll get some sort of plastic bag. I also have the ones from the dollar store. Lots and lots of plastic bags. So I'm going to pull out the first one here, which is a page kit that I've actually recently added photos in. Something that I recently did was I went through all my page kits and added went through my photos as well to see if there was a page kit that would match the photos. And this was a page kit I made a while back from, I believe, a kit. This was a long time ago, and no, I haven't used it yet. But essentially it has everything that I need. It has photos, it has card, it has embellishments, it has washi tape even. So let's pull this one out and go over it together. So this is a couple months ago that I added the rest of it. So we have some photos here. Let's start with the photos. So these are two photos of me from a hike we took. Easy peasy. Now let's look at the papers. So we have Basic Gray and we have Pink Fresh Studio Boys 4. You can turn them over. Some good options, some great options actually for a lot of different stuff. Now sometimes I see this, so here's my little thing here. So I have a big piece on the bottom, a bigger piece on the top. I didn't indicate which one. I left a lot of stuff up to myself. And it says gold paper background, so it's telling me this should be the background and this should be the layer behind the photos. I also included some 6x6, so we'll get to that. It also says add wood veneer, and the title should be bold. So I have a cluster up here. The title goes in between the L shape, which is a classic for me, so not surprising. So I have two here, and I indicated these two sides were the sides. So I'd cut this one in half, and the gold would be the background. Good to know, good to know. And again, here are the photos. Would I ever have paired these with these photos if the page kit wasn't made? Probably not, but I really do love the gold for all the gold that's back here in the trees from the sunlight, and the black really helps add the contrast that like my top does to my very pale skin. So this worked out really well in my favor. Now moving on, let's move these out of the way. We have one 6x6 paper. This is from Simple Stories, and this could be a photo mat. I also have an indicator that I have a line across here, which I assume means it'll be this washi tape. So I have a little bit of an embellishment pile here. And again, this was during a bulk make, so I made a ton of page kits this day. So I have a gray sort of Moroccan tile washi tape here, which is pretty basic, but I think it'll get the job done in terms of, you know, adding that separator that I wanted. And it's kind of transparent, which could be an issue later when I actually use it. But I also have this piece here, which could have been the border that I was indicating. So I'm leaving myself options so I don't get overwhelmed in terms of I have to use these things. So keep that in mind when you're making yours. We have a ton of 3x4 cards. I like to use these for journaling, so I'm not surprised. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a yellow, and then we have just a regular grid. These can all work great, especially since they don't have super white, especially because these do not have the white accents. They have a lot of cream. So far so good. We're pulling in more of that gold. We have a couple embellishments in there. We have a white tag, Adventure Fills Your Soul, really great. Me and You, it's just me. Don't know why I included that. Bright Idea, good stuff. There's No One Like You. We have a black paper clip, a light tan vellum piece, these Blue Moon sequins, which add that iridescent flare, as well as the wood grain dark brown, which works well for the nature photos. We have black puffy stickers, which these are beautiful stars. Oreo black, what an interesting color. So that'll work well. We have these, I think I pulled this out mostly for the yellow and maybe for the 5. Again, there's not a ton of colors in the kit, but I could also pull in this blue somehow with the blue 6x6. And then this is the Boys Fort puffy sticker set, which goes with the one Boys Fort paper that I have. So a lot of these would work. There's a lot of great colors here. It says the title should be bold, which I think is this because I haven't seen it anywhere else. But these would be great elements to decorate the page with. You know, like typical you rock would be funny because, you know, it's like rock climbing. Living up to the hype, rad and awesome. A lot of these could work well. And I like how they have that rough and tough feel. And I know these are meant for boys pages, but works great for hiking pages and girl pages too. So that is a kit that had everything in it. I mean, everything's in there. I technically don't need anything else. Now, would I pull in other things? Yes, I had add wood veneer. I might want black splatters. I might want enamel dots instead of sequins. But the idea is there's an idea there, so you don't have to come up with a fresh idea every time you sit down to scrapbook. Up next, let's do one without a photo. Now let me make sure this one doesn't have one. Oh, there's just a hole there. I thought that was an index card. So I believe this was made from an X kit, which I love to do because sometimes you just love the papers so much. Whoa, this is an old kit, I believe. Okay, let's start with the papers. I can't even grab some of them. So we have a camera, which I believe is... This was actually given to me in a, like, pass-on box, so it was just by itself, but it looks like Chamel to me. We have this Simple Stories, and then we have this One Canoe 2. So we're all over the place in terms of color scheme. Now I see where I pulled in the teal and teal. Actually, this was How to Kill a Kit with Style, but I never used this kit, wasn't it? I remember these teals going together for that kit. And there's lots of elements here I could use. We have pinks I could bring in. You know, it really just depends on the photo. Then I brought in this light teal / green paper from Echo Park. And then this one, oh, this one could be from anything. Probably also Echo Park. Really pretty pink though. And then I have this one from Pink Fresh Studio, which is here for the neutral white and black. And then I made myself a little goodie bag full of embellishments. Now I find pulling embellishments to be really, really fun. And if you already have a bunch of stuff out to build page kits, I recommend doing bulk page kitting, mainly because you'll see things that go together and you'll want to pull them out immediately because you don't want to forget, you know, everything that went together. So that's why I recommend it. But again, totally depends on what you prefer. So here I pulled out a bunch of pieces. And guys, I wonder where all my washi tape goes, and I swear I have more washi tape, and then I forget that I have page kits, I forget that I have monthly kits together. Oops. First off, we have a Friesen for a Reason sequin mix. So this has a white, like metallic, pinks, and yellows, which is interesting, but we could use yellow easily as an accent color given this paper and these elements that also have yellow. 2 plain washi tapes, 1 teal, which matches beautifully. Like this is like a perfect washi. And then a like mauve-y pink, which I think doesn't really match, but could still work. It's a close match. We have 1 very, very elegant tag, 1 wood veneer, a So Cool Flare, which is from Humble and Create. This is from, oh, what is that brand? Not sure. It's available at Joann's though, or was rather. Project Life, Ellie Studio, Pink Fresh Studio, Pink Fresh Studio, Pink Paisley, Ellie Studio. A lot of these are Pink Fresh Studio. This was a certain collection pack. This one's Ellie, Pink Fresh, Pink Fresh. This is Pink Paisley as well. This one's Pink Paisley. This is Hobby Lobby. And these were Pink Fresh. Then we have some cards. We have this one that says, "Let's have a party," and "The world is a lovely place." This color scheme works beautifully for this. Despite them being different styles in terms of like, this is like cartoony flowers, whereas this is like, has this like modern deco feel because of like the mixed media between like in the letters. Whereas this one's like cutesy. Like I could cover up this easily and use it for a journaling card. Then we have this one, which is Pretty Little Studio. I believe this one was given to me. It's probably Project Life though. And then we have another sequin mix that's In Your Dreams. I used to love this sequin mix so much, but it has that beautiful teal we want, as well as some gold. And I guess I'd call that bright orange. Not sure. But no photos. But guys, let me tell you what. If I pulled out these photos, you bet your bottom dollar I could make it go with it. I think sometimes we stress about our photo choices in terms of what we use to document each of our pages, which we should. That's like part of the hobby. That's some of the fun of creating, is finding that perfect piece and finding that perfect color scheme for a story and to make it work. But sometimes it's just fun to put pretty stuff together without a specific reason in mind, and then later finding the perfect piece for it. So like this one doesn't have notes with it. It's just a collection of pieces. Like if you were to order a kit from like Wild Hair Kits or something, you would get a collection of things that coordinate but don't have a direction. And I think sometimes we don't think we can do that, but guys, you can make your own kits at home and really shop your stash and make your stash work for you. Like right now, with all this pile here, I don't think any of this stuff goes together, mainly because of the cut apart sheet here, which I didn't look at the back of it, but it's a very pretty vine color, or vine, pattern. But when you start stacking things up, you'll start unlocking color schemes and ideas and having fun with it, which is what's like the most important part, is that we're flexing our creative abilities and we're having fun designing things together. So we'll open up one more page kit before I let you guys go. Let's see, that one's a huge page kit, not like a normal page kit. Okay, here's one that has an idea but no photo. So this was made from my Wild Whisper themed kit, which I believe was, guys, How to Kill a Kit with Style has gone on for so long. I have no idea which month's which anymore, but I made a whole one with like Wild Whisper stuff, and it was bright colored and really fun, and I had a lot of fun with it, but I had leftovers, which I still do, and I thought I would create a page kit for it. So this one has a theme, nothing else with it. It says cruise/zoo page. So we have a starting point. Maybe all of the page kits you'll make will have a starting point, like for your daughter, for your son, for the family, for your dog, for your baking, for your other hobby, for racing, for travel. Themes like that can really help you sort out your page kits, but also don't limit yourself. Like I showed you guys earlier, that pink and green page kit could work for travel. It could work for outdoors. It could work for selfies of your son or your daughter or anyone. So you don't have to limit yourself too much, but if you need that sort of structure, make it for yourself, make some different titles, and sort your page kits that way. But this beautiful one starts with a background paper from Coordinations, beautiful green. This one's colored light green, small dot. Then I pulled in this beautiful Wild Whisper paper, which I remember using just the outside of it to mat another layout. But I was like, guys, I need this paper. It is so cute. So I used that one for this layout, and it goes really well. Then I pulled in 2 accent papers. I brought in a lot more orange this time. There's not a ton of orange in here. It's actually just pinks, yellows, and greens with that light blue background, but I thought orange would be a nice accent color for a lot of different subjects, like a zoo or a cruise. Then I brought in a small frame. And here's where my wax paper came in. I have used this before, so I have a bigger frame so I could do some sort of frame thing with zoo pictures or cruise pictures. I have some like embellishments here, puffy sticker, more chipboard. I brought in some Heidi Swap phrase stickers, which are oldies but goodies, really bringing in that hot pink. And I also have some featherwood veneer that I thought went really well with the bird theme and just overall goes really well. So this one's very small, but it gets the point across. Like, yes, I'd have to bring in a title, but I also don't know I don't know what kind of alphabet I'd want, or if I want to use one of those pre-made phrases, or if I'll have a cut part that says something, or if my photos have a title within them. But overall, you get the exact theme that I'm going for with Cruise and Zoo just from this. And I say cruise because I know we've seen different types of tropical birds in the places we visited, so that's where that theme's coming from. But overall, I think you get the idea. There are probably hundreds of different ways to really style your page kits. Just page papers, like you just use papers, you just use embellishments, you do a combo of the two. Lots of different ideas and lots of different styles and options to do. And storing them can be difficult, which I agree. Sorting them can be difficult, but like I said, I don't have too many, so I don't have to worry about it. But we can make our scraps work for us by designing our pages for us, like I showed you earlier. And I hope you guys really thought that this episode was insightful in terms of utilizing your scraps and utilizing your supplies and the work you've already put in perhaps to make a larger kit, to segment it into smaller kits, or any sort of means if you get a kit and you segment it out, or vice versa. There's lots of different options. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode of 2020 Creative Reset. You guys got to see a bunch of different page kits. I think, 6 in total? Some that were partial, some that are full, some that are with photos, some that are without, because there's lots of options out there, and trying to expedite the scrapbooking process, but also keep in the creative part of it. It's a two-way game, it's a two-way street where we need to have that creativity, but also make our supplies work for us in terms that we know things already coordinate, so we should keep them together, but there's also the aspect of wanting new things, redoing things and using our scraps and all sorts of stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Like I said earlier, 2020 Creative Reset goes through the end of February, so make sure you subscribe so you can see more ways to make your stash work for you. But I hope you guys enjoyed and consider making a page kit very, very soon. And if you do, I'd love to know. So leave me a comment down below if you make page kits or if you want to make page kits and what your process is in terms of including photos, not including photos, just paper, some embellishments, no embellishments. Do you do bulk? Do you do not bulk? Really depends on my mood. Sometimes I've done bulk ones, but I like having these ready to go for when I do couch scrapbooking or anything that's not in my craft room. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already, because I don't want you to miss out on the rest of the 2020 Creative Reset series and all of the fun things that are coming here during the last half of February. But thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys!